approaching your health by using, oh wow, I'm doing well already, by using what business industry calls a growth mindset might actually help you feel better. And for the first time, I am simulcasting, live streaming on both Facebook and my YouTube channel because the poor YouTube channel has been languishing for a while. Um, Editing videos is really difficult and fun, and it takes a long time and is rough on my body. So it's been not used much, but I thought, why not do this on both channels? So we'll see how that works out. I have no idea if it'll work out. Should. Anyway, so let's talk about checking in with yourself. And if you've been here before, you know that my three things system is a gentle approach to creating new habits or accomplishing things while respecting your chronic illness and what your body needs. Um, so it sort of goes, but chronic illness style and a more realistic, I think, way of making things happen. So, and I'll talk more about that another time if you want an update on why my three things are what they are. But I want to talk about checking in with yourself, and you might justifiably ask, checking in about what? And to that, I'll say everything, but I will get more specific. In this chat, like I said, we will talk about um, using the methods you normally use to check your career or check like I said, business goals or your work goals, and using that on how to live with chronic illness in different ways might actually work. Um, so let's talk about the goals. Uh, if you want to try three things, basically it is incredibly imaginatively named for choosing three very tiny goals every month. One for your body, one for your soul, and one I used to call miscellaneous. Now I think I moved over to grab bag. It only took me almost 3 years to get there because, brain. I write long. What can I say? I could never be an ad exec. So you choose those and then you track them. And it's as simple as that. And of course, there's a lot of thinking behind it, and there's a lot of, like, I could get lost in the details, but instead I will add the link to my three things FAQ if you want, plus that also has a free download tracking system, which is incredibly basic. You can, of course, track, like you can do it in your bullet journal, you can do it in an app, or what I have done for a very long time is print out one of the sheets in my tracking tool. It usually has three shapes on them, different kinds of shapes, and then buy some cheap stickers somewhere and put every day that I do one of the goals, I put a sticker in the allotted space. And it's a little bit like I was describing this earlier in my Facebook group, that it's a little bit like giving yourself a gold star every day, and it builds momentum. And it makes you see that over time, doing something very tiny every day actually builds up to something bigger. As for the goals itself, let me know, by the way, if you're out there, say hi and let me know what your goals were for August, how you did, and what you're thinking about for September. But the goals are tiny. Like I have one of my favorites that I return to every now and again. It's called the 2-minute tidy. And that basically it is what it says it is. It's every day, take 2 minutes and tidy something for those 2 minutes. And when you're done, you're done. No continuing, no nothing. And it's because I've learned that doing a tiny bit every day actually works up to a lot over a fairly short time. Whereas if you tidied everything, then you're on the couch with a flare for the next several days. And it's a way to break that overdue crash cycle. And it works for me. You could also do things like I've used it to get into the habit of flossing every day. I have every March, I do my taxes and just basically do them very slowly over time. Maybe not every day, but every other day or so. I'll pull together something else for my taxes. Um, you can do things like take a little walk every day. You can, let's see what else, journal every day. I've been doing some talking about journaling and benefits of chronic illness on my blog, theseedofyou.com. And so basically, you can choose anything you want. For your body, for the body goal, I usually choose something that's good for my body. For the soul, something that acknowledges the value of preserving my mental health and paying as much attention to that as I do my body. And then this grab bag, which is for anything else. The tidying, the taxes, the everything that starts with T, maybe. Alrighty, so we also have a buddy system every Saturday on my Facebook page, Saturday noonish or late morning noonish. I do a check-in because having a buddy system is kind of a proven part of staying motivated in a goal. So you can join me there if you want. But why am I diving into what the three things are again? Well, partly because maybe people on YouTube haven't participated in this as much as those on my Facebook page, but also because, just a reminder, this is exactly what happens with a business goal. You may have annual and quarterly and maybe even monthly reviews, reassessments, pivoting to a different strategy if it's not working. And there's a reason for it. It works. You don't create a goal of saying, like, let's keep it in business talk, because that's where this example lives. You don't have a goal of saying you want a 5% increase in profits a particular year and then just kind of go, okay, we'll just see if that happens. No, you break down that goal into like 6-month and quarterly goals. You develop strategies on how to achieve that goal, and then you check them. And I become more and more aware of this as people in my family, like my partner and his sister, both work in industries that do a lot of project management to make sure that goals get done. And I started kind of applying that system to chronic illness. And here's the thing, it works. Because so often, chronic illness, you just kind of, you're so busy trying to juggle everything in your chronic illness, juggle everything in your life, and do it with limited energy and pain, and you just sort of just move forward without stopping and checking, because you're in this fog of pain and exhaustion and tasks that need to be done and frustration and all of it, right? And then all of a sudden another month or another year has passed and you're like, well, what happened? And it's also real easy to get stuck in not feeling well for a really long time, because there are big flares that are impossible to ignore or not see. But then there's also the tiny incremental ways that chronic illness, such as rheumatoid arthritis, can gradually just take over your life. And you don't notice it because it's just really gradually until, several months in, all of a sudden you look up and go, what? Wait, I think I'm flaring, right? So let's talk about this kind of project management approach to managing your illness. And let's pick rheumatoid arthritis because that's sort of my wheelhouse. So in the last 20 years, there's been a huge improvement in how to treat rheumatoid arthritis that came with the biologics, which are big drugs for a big problem, and they have had a revolutionary impact on RA. In fact, so much so that overall, in general, assuming no barriers to treatment such as money and insurance companies that won't pay for it, RA, that used to be a very visible illness, a very disabling illness, hence my wheelchair, because I grew up in a time without treatment. It's now increasingly becoming an invisible illness, which has its own problems, but that's a different story for another day. But it has, like, it is significant. And that's changed the approach to treatment, not only the drugs, but the approach to treatment. Before we had effective treatment, the approach was to go low or go slow. To go low and go slow. It meant that you might start with anti-inflammatory medication treating the symptoms. And if that didn't work after a long while, the garbage truck is here. If you heard that honk, the garbage truck is here. Anyway, so then you'd move on to one of the milder rheumatoid arthritis drugs, such as hydroxychloroquine, maybe sulfasalazine. Hydroxychloroquine is also known as Plaquenil, and then you just slowly build up. And needless to say, if you know anything about RA, the longer you take and the slower you go, the more time RA has to munch on your joints and the rest of your body. So once biologics started coming into the picture, we are now, it changed the approach to treating to one that's called treat to target, which is very similar to what's used for diabetes and high blood pressure, which means you take a medication and then you assess after 3 months. Oh my God, so we have garbage trucks and drilling. I swear, the drilling, I was live somewhere else this morning, and the minute I went live, they started drilling, and then I stopped going live after about half an hour, and the drilling stopped, and now I'm live. Like, I think there's a connection. Anyway, so treat to target high blood pressure, diabetes. So you start a medication at a certain dose, and after 3 months, you assess, you take a look at the numbers. This is, like, is your blood sugar, has it reduced to where it should be? Has your blood pressure reduced to where it should be? And if it hasn't, you tweak the meds. So the goal is now with treating RA is you do it the same way. Every 3 months, you take a look and say, how are you? Unfortunately, we don't have quite as reliable numbers, although you can do things like blood tests called the ESR and the CRP, and they measure general inflammation in the body, not just RA inflammation. But you can check the joints, you can check how you're feeling. And if your RA is still active, you tweak the meds. You can add something else. You can switch to another med. You can increase the dose. You can shorten the interval between taking doses. And basically, you keep doing this. Every 3 months, you reassess, you tweak, because the goal is remission. And this is part of what has led, like, obviously, other than having medications that work on a lot of people, not everyone, not yet, but this is why RA is now becoming an invisible illness, which, yay, but also other problems. But again, so this also, of course, there are barriers to this, and this is the ideal approach, right? There's barriers. There is what you're comfortable with. There is financial barriers. You may not be able to afford the medication. There's things like insurance requiring you to, they call it fail first program, which is you have to try things that are lower on the treatment scale, but also cheaper. And they have to fail. Well, that's the whole concept of you're the one who fails the medication. I always think it's the other way around. But you have to try, is this going to work? No, then you move up. And sometimes your insurance company won't pay, usually, until you've gone through everything else. And in that time, again, Ari has time to munch on your joints. I once saw a speech by a rheumatologist who basically said, like, a lot of rheumatologists these days want to start with biologic because you start early and aggressive, gives you the best chance of remission. And instead, they're forced to go through this other thing that actually has very real potential for damaging your body, which got to be frustrating, not only for those of us who live with it, but also for the doctors who have the tools and can't use them. But anyway, circling back to goals and taking the reins. And I think one of the important things is whatever your goal is, whether it's to get control of your illness or get your taxes in on time, it's important to take the reins and really embrace the fact that you are in charge of what happens. And part of that means knowing more about what you do. And when you're looking at treating your disease, your illness, your condition, which word do you prefer? Actually, would love to hear in the comments. And knowing what the current recommendations are, just as when I pull together my taxes for my accountant, because he's my tax specialist, I need to know what he needs so I can give him the correct information so he can make sure that my taxes are paid correctly and I don't get dinged later. Same thing with your doctor. You need to know, well, you need to. I think you need to, but let me be more diplomatic and say, I recommend that you learn as much about your condition as you can, and you need the data, such as, like, you have the information, you can do research on, legit websites, and you can make sure that you get your test results by having, what is it called? My chart? No, not my chart. There's another one. There's I think it depends on what country you're in, but basically make sure you have copies of your test results, which are handy should you ever need to change doctors. But also just because it's your info, it's your data. So once you have that and you put it together, for instance, that your treatment should be treat to target. Then if you're a doctor, because there are still some doctors who go low and slow, and if your doctor does that, you can say, hey, I read about this, I understand this is the approach, why are we going slow on this? And you can have a better conversation and whether this is the doctor for you. And it's all part of that continual review. You need all those things in order to do the review. And then pivot, and whether that's in your treatment or something else, it all is all the same, right? But taking a step back, I think before you go ahead and get the data and get into the review, you may also need to change your mindset a little. And that's where I get back to the growth mindset idea from business, which, like, the idea of using the business jargon to apply to your life and your health. It sort of made me roll my eyes when I first wrote it in my notes, but it's a point, and I'll get into that shortly. Just a reminder, if you're watching this on Facebook, especially on Facebook, the algorithm does it best to suppress pages unless you pay for ads. So any action you can take both here and on Facebook and on YouTube, to like um, to like both my page, or follow my page, or to subscribe on YouTube, to comment, and to share, if especially on Facebook, can tell both platforms that you want to see more of what I do, and that helps me. That's growth mindset on both places, on for both of us, right? Anyway, you may also, if you're frustrated about missing things, you may also want to subscribe to my newsletter, which is going to be in the comments / description. This whole simulcast is a little confusing, but I will add that information so you can subscribe to my newsletter. I'm trying to get that out every 2 weeks, and it has unique content. You'd be first. It's like the trio rather of the live get in the way business, because we've had construction, we've had drilling, no, we have construction, we have garbage truck, and now we have the phone. Oh, going live is so much fun. Now there's phone and drawing at the same time. Hiya. Anyway, so yeah, unique content every 2 weeks, and also links to anything you might have missed. So newsletter subscription I will put that in the appropriate place as soon as I stop talking. Anyway, so I think the stepping back, what I think is really important in order to, for your goal, whether it be tiny or a big one, is to look at the why. It helps you be more conscious, knowing why you do something, and it can change your approach to what you're doing. Whether, like you have a green smoothie in the morning, or you're taking medication to treat your RA, and it may help you feel more positive about what you're doing. So being conscious about the why behind a particular, hang on, I'm reading my notes. They're really good notes, but then I didn't look at them just before I went live because I got busy. And yeah, welcome to my lives. The why behind a particular decision, and keeping that at the forefront of your mind in some way, can help you stick to that decision and push for change wherever you need it. For instance, for me, the 2-minute tidy is because when my home is messy and disorganized, it makes me unhappy. But if I dig deeper behind that, there are several levels of why behind why it makes me unhappy. I can't find anything, which means I waste time and get in a bad mood when I look for stuff. It makes me feel like my life is a mess. I know that's not necessarily true, but it does. And it sometimes makes me feel as if my chronic illness and my disability is the reason my home is a mess. And that makes me feel bad about myself. And then I start berating myself, and then I start hating my life. And there you go. So that's why I do the 2-minute tidy. And you can apply that to taking RA medication, which for a lot of us can be a struggle, especially if the side effects are bad. But so on the surface, you take the meds to control inflammation. But why? It's to reduce your pain. It's to protect my joints. It's so if you have kids, it may be so you can parent your children the way you'd like, which may include being more physically active. And if you can't be physically active, then that doesn't make you a bad parent, but it may make you feel better about it. And if you want me to talk about parenting at some point, let me know. I take the RA meds so I can have the career I dream of. And for me, that has been a very real situation, that biologics were the direct cause. Well, it helped me survive a very bad flare. But I'm a writer because I take meds, and as long as I take my meds, I have the physical ability to be a writer and pursue this lifelong dream I've had, as long as I pace myself, which I'm not good at. Anyway, it may be so you can exercise if that's important to you, or you can, um, you can basically you can think of anything, like, and everything is unique to you, but there is some value in kind of digging underneath. And for me, I still remember what it was like to not have my RA treated, and if I have to stop taking my meds for a while because I'm sick or have infections, then I'm very reminded of how I feel without meds, and that's a really good reason for me to get back on them. But if your feelings towards medication is more complicated, it might help you to dig into it, like beyond my doctor recommended it. Well, why are you taking it? And that means that if you're having a day or two with bad side effects, but the medication is otherwise working, again, depending on how bad the side effects are, but it helps you kind of embrace the treatment. And I'm a strong believer in that how you feel about something. And I wouldn't say it helps it work better, because that's probably crap. But if you're doing something that makes you feel awful emotionally, that's not a great way to spend your life. Like, if you can say this is a tool that helps me live the way I want, or more like the way I want, and it comes with a cost, but I'll take that cost because of what it otherwise gives me. That might help. Anyway, so do you and your doctor talk about your why? Have you had that kind of exercise, and in what lies below? I'd love to hear it in the comments. So it helps you get motivated, that why, knowing your why and being connected to your why. It helps you get motivated, helps you take, like I said, the medication that makes you feel like crap for a couple of days. It helps you eat less chocolate, theoretically anyway, and so on. So how do you keep it on the forefront? Many people will do a vision board. I've never done a vision board. I think I want to play with it. And that's maybe something we can talk about in the future live. If you'd like me to, let me know. You can put a photo on the fridge, I have a filing cabinet next to me, and I have something done. I have a magnet that's basically called get it's a swear word. It starts with S. It's 4 letters. Done Club, and it sort of motivates me on days when I'm tired. But about 20, 30 years ago, there was this whole trend of saying that if you wanted to motivate yourself to stick to your diet, you should put a fat photo of yourself or of somebody else on the fridge. Don't do that. Don't do negative reinforcement for yourself, because all it does is make you hate yourself or judge other people for their weight, and or whatever. Let's not do that. Maybe do something positive instead. Make it about your hopes and your dreams, and something that gives you joy. Like, if you, like I said, whether you want to get back to, let's talk dieting for a moment. If you want to get back to your pants not being so snug, or get rid of the corona. Well, some people call them the Corona 19. I call them my pandemic pounds. And it's like, find a reason that motivates you rather than punishes you. So let's check in the comments. How was your August 3 things? If you participated, what were some of the things that happened in August that made you think you want to try 3 things, um, let me know. I'd love to hear them. So this is, again, the check-in. I think doing a check-in on a regular basis, we're back to the growth mindset, which I'm just sorry, it sounds exhausting, but whatever. Let's go with it. Growth mindset, make it part of your routine. Like I have a planner that I use for creative outlet, but also to keep track of my life. So I try to set aside time once a month to kind of look at where I'm at. I have a quarterly plan that I mostly apparently don't look at because it's been a rough year. Um, and it's also, like I said, the weekly check-in on my Facebook page is another way to check in, to be accountable, to keep going, to get motivated, and so on. You don't have to do it in public on my Facebook page. You can also check in with a trusted family member, a friend. Um, and when we're talking about your health, definitely use that every 3-month conversation with your doctor. I assume you have like an every 3 months appointment with, say, your rheumatologist. Make some notes the night before so you know kind of where you're at, what information you're bringing, and then use that as a kind of reset and saying, okay, how's it been going? Is the meds working the way they should? Is there any problems? Do we need to do anything? And it's like a wonderful reminder that can keep you moving forward instead of getting stuck. Um, Answer some questions again, whether it's doctor, taxes, green smoothies, whatever. Questions such as, am I closer to my goal? What are the barriers to getting to my goal? What can I change? And it's normal to need help to figure out what to change. Like what you can bring, for instance, to your doctors is maybe you don't feel closer to your goal of your RA playing a smaller role in your life. Maybe you've identified some of the barriers. The medication is not working. Um, you need some changes at work. And then you can go to your doctor and say, and they can talk to you about other meds. They can talk to you about, give you a referral for an occupational therapist to assess your workplace, things like that. So overall, I would say for my 3 things, they've gradually changed the way I look at. That does not make sense. Well, looking at everything in my life and my goals, big and small, getting used to thinking about what I do and what happened and taking a look at my progress. And this was just for my 3 tiny little things. And doing that on a monthly basis has had ripple effects over the last, 2.5 years. And it means, and it ripples to the rest of my life because my mindset changed. And it means I stop sooner when I'm doing something that exhausts me or pushes me the bad way physically. And because I stop sooner, I have less crashes. I am better at identifying what symptoms mean I'm about to have a crash and then stopping before it happens. I am, well, let's not talk about July. I didn't do it in July and I paid for it. So anyway, I ask for help sooner. I don't wait until I'm completely stuck and miserable. I ask for help when I'm feeling sort of stuck and not feeling good. And I change my approach faster. So in this way, I think changing how you think about something can have my jaw's cracked, can have a direct impact on basically moving your life in the direction you want to be in so you can feel better. So, And so, yeah, that's basically why I keep talking about the three things and why I keep sticking to it and going live about it, because sticking to a system of tiny changes every month it may take longer, but it has real positive impact. Anyway, so let's talk about August, and I don't see any comments about August, so I guess you guys didn't do it. It's okay. That's one of the things about three things: you can do it or not, and you can drop in and out. Like we talk about this on the second Thursday of each month, but you can start anytime. You can start next week. You can do it for 1 week and then say, never mind, I'll be back next week. It's completely flexible, no guilt, no pressure, no nothing. Because I think those get in the way. My three things for August, it was about healing and resetting after completely ignoring everything I'd learned about pacing myself, and subsequently ending up in a huge flare that required medication. And it was a harsh lesson that I deserved and that I am still thinking about, so I can change things going forward. Anyway, so it took a couple of weeks before I really started being creative, which was my sole goal. But once I got going, it was fun. I forget what my body goal was, probably healing and resetting, which I did do. And at a certain point, I also started forgiving myself for needing to do that, and just really kind of tuned into what a relief it was to allow my body to actually slowly heal, and do what it needed, because living a life often means you have to ignore that. And I did a fair amount of tidying once I felt better, which was also made me happy. So let's take a look at September. What are your September goals for your body, for your soul, and the grab bag? And what's the why behind it? So I'll share mine. This is accidentally going to be a busy month, probably almost as busy as July, but I want to make sure I'm very conscious about how I'm approaching this so that I can protect my body and actually get through the month without the 3-week crash. So I don't want to lose the ground I gained. And so therefore, my body goal is to strictly schedule my days and my weeks. And that means like follow a schedule, setting out, I'm writing for an hour here, or I'm doing this here. And then when I'm done, walk away. There's no, oh, but just 1 hour more because, or I'll work on weekends, or because that's how that's how it happened, right? It means only this many meetings a week. It means this many doctor's appointment, because I found that too many doctor's appointments and tests in 1 week make me very miserable. It makes me feel very sick, and it makes me work twice as hard when I get home, because I'm spent hours at a doctor's appointment. So it means like maybe 2 doctor's appointment with at least 2 days in between per week, no more. It means using what I know about pacing myself and what happens when I don't, to be proactive. So just a reminder that I tend to choose a body goal that's a lot more clearly physical, like whether it's eating better or flossing, or the green smoothie thing, or meditating, or whatever. Just a reminder that things like paying a lot of attention to pacing yourself, and things like saying no to doing too much can also be a body goal. Just remember to be really specific. And here's a lesson, because my soul goal is periods of silence. which I really like the idea because I'm an introvert and silence is where I find healing. Silence is also when my brain starts thinking about things like my book and coming up with the next couple of scenes. Um, Silence is healing for me. And periods of silence, just throw it out there. It's too vague. It's not a good goal because it's too vague. So let me translate about, let's see, ideally an hour a day, but I do realize that this may not be an hour, but let's go for it. Um, go for a walk, play with my journal, play with photos, like basically edit my photos. The goal is to have no words, no lighting. What the hell did I mean by that? Anyway, no meetings, no doing, right? So talking to a friend is not silence. Talking to you guys, much as I love it, is not silence. Watching TV at the same time I watch TV every day, which is usually around 10 o'clock at night, doesn't count because it's not silence. There is stimulation coming. So yeah, so find some silence. And I think it'd be interesting. Is that something that would appeal to you? What do you think would happen if there was silence? Anyway, think about it. So, and I'm going to continue from the grab bag, continue with the 2-minute tidy, because it's something I tend to skip over whenever I get busy. And that means that my place gets messier and messier. And that makes me unhappy, as I said. So taking 2 minutes out of my day to do a quick tidy is something I do for me. Anyway, so that's me. Just a reminder, I'll get to your questions in a second. Just a reminder, join my newsletter. You may also want to join my private Facebook group, which is a great community. It's called Lena's Couch. I will link that as well. This is Saturday, late morning, noonish check-in. And next time I go live is on August 16th at 2:30 p.m. ET for the monthly Ask Lena. And I swear I knew what I was going to talk about. I was going to tell you, but it's out of my brain because I'm tired now. So let's talk to Susie, who says a parenting video would be great. I think that's a great idea. I'll take a look. I might even invite a friend of mine on who has a wonderful parenting philosophy, and we'll talk about that. I'll see if I can schedule it for some time before the end of the year, and I'll let you know. Again, newsletter or Facebook page or etc. Lena, if possible, could you please put up a post of your schedule live post? My memory is mush and I always forget when you're going to come on, so I always show up late. No problem. Well, a couple of things. First of all, you can write this down right now if you're comfortable, I go live on my page the first Thursday of the month with the 3 things, and the third Thursday of the month with my Ask Lena. And that's steady. That's sometimes I go live with other things, but this is like steady. This is every month. This is the way it is. But I will probably start doing like an announcement post at the beginning of the month or something and put it on my Facebook page. So so you can check that. You may also, like I said, newsletter is a really good way to stay ahead of what's happening. I try to get it out Monday or Tuesday-ish. Still working on. So that gives you a couple of days notice that it's coming. I do also do the posts. So this is, shall we chat about Facebook? Anyway, I do share posts to my Facebook page and Twitter, telling people I'm going live a couple of times between Monday and Thursday. And I always put one up Thursday, 2 hours before I go live. But the reason you're not seeing them is because Facebook makes you work for it. And I know it's their platform and I know I use it for free, but it's really frustrating. You may find one way to deal with that is on any page, not just mine. If you remind yourself, if you see one of my posts, like it, leave a comment, or if you feel it's valuable, share it. Because those are the actions, especially the commenting and sharing, that tells Facebook that you want to see my stuff. You can also follow my Facebook page. At the top of the Facebook page, there's a follow settings, and you can set them to be a priority. So that tells Facebook that you want to continue to see my post. I do think they still hide them. So we're back to the newsletter. For YouTube, liking this video, leaving a comment, subscribing to my channel, and click the notification bell will also tell YouTube that you want to see my stuff. Anyway, drilling is starting again, and I need a cookie and a nap. Have a wonderful afternoon.